The past 10 years, I've been consuming cannabis because of my Crohn's syndrome. It was pretty bad throughout my whole childhood and even my early 20s. But as soon as I get introduced to cannabis, it really just saved my life. It changed my life. Now thinking to myself, I cannot wait that I one day in the near future, instead of naming, pharmaceutical medications, I just want to write down all the strains I'm taking. The future is very bright for us. Being in the cannabis technology space is very exciting. It's new. It truly is.
I'm Mercer, and welcome to another episode of Pathfinders, where I get to sit down and talk with industry leaders within the wellness, CBD, and cannabis space. Enjoy. Sean, thanks for joining Pathfinders today. Another episode. We're excited. And for those of you who don't know, Sean Mafi is the CEO and founder of Peridot, right? That's the correct way I'm saying it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thanks for making the time to be on the show and talk about your business and your experience and all things cannabis. So I guess let's just get started. Tell me a little bit about how Peridot got started and what was the aha moment when you kind of decided, like, okay, I see an opportunity here, and we're going to go in this direction.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, Mike, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited. Peridot, yes. So prior to Peridot, I used to have a marketing agency in Washington, and we focus on cannabis retailers. Throughout those years of spending countless of hours inside of the shops, talking to ownership, managers, bud tenders, and of course the shoppers itself. The one thing I always notice is really missing is a good e-commerce solution where shoppers can go online, look for products, read about products, look at images, understanding what this strain really means and does for you prior to purchasing. Most of the times, the e-commerce platforms back then, at least, it was just a list of brand names and strain names, and that's it, right? Yeah. And unless you really, really know your weed, it's hard to know what you're even buying, especially as we have so many different unique name of strains, that everything from Alaskan Thunderfuck to Harlequin and God knows what else. And as cool as those names are, nobody really knows what it means, right?
So for a reference, so for a reference point, like what year are we talking about here?
This is 2017. It was right before I had my son. Yes.
Okay.
This was the winter, spring of 2017. And we had just actually then started our marketing agency too. It was less than 2 years old. So I really didn't want to dive into a new startup, but the opportunity was there. And as you said, that aha moment really felt like, man, we need to do something about this. This is 2017, so we didn't have as many states recreationally legalized cannabis, but we still have enough states that we knew that if we build something, we can definitely take it nationwide.
So real quick, so just to explain exactly what and I had a great conversation about this the last time that we talked, and I was kind of saying it sounds like it's a hybrid between almost like a Leafly and a Weed Maps. I don't know if you'd agree with that or not, but give us the breakdown on that, so people can really understand like what the technology is and how it's of service to them.
Absolutely. To simplify it, we are the very first educational e-commerce solution for cannabis dispensaries. What I mean by that is that just like everyone else, when you go on someone's dispensary, when you go on their website and click on menu, our platform shows up. And at that point, we are showing that store's inventory in real time, and then images, description, genetics, et cetera, et cetera. When I say the very first educational, is because prior to Peridot, most platforms, when they write about products or even showcasing products, there's a lot of stock images, and there's a lot of generic descriptions, right? And CBD, THCs, necessarily not the most accurate ones. It's a few lots behind. Information is there, but it's not 100% accurate, not even 90% accurate. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, okay, let's do something about this, right? I'm a big cannabis consumer myself. I've been smoking for about 20 years. The past 10 years, I've been consuming cannabis because of my Crohn's syndrome. It was pretty bad throughout my whole childhood and even my early 20s. But as soon as I get introduced to cannabis, it really just saved my life. It changed my life. And with that said, about 4 years ago, I get into the world of terpenes. And suddenly, I mean, where did that come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does terpenes, for me, I thought it was the terpenes are just the aroma. It just makes it smell and taste a little bit different. But little
Yeah.
did I know that terpenes have so many medicinal effects, right? So going back to what we were talking about, oh man, I kind of lost my train of thought here. Scratch this.
That's okay.
Okay. I was going on to what did you ask me?
We were just talking about like explaining like what the how the platform might be similar or different from like a Weed Maps and like a Leafly for information and education, and then like
That's right.
directing people where to go. Yeah.
That's what I was going to, right. So a lot of
All
the
right.
descriptions
Back in.
back in. So a lot of the descriptions that you find online is very generic, right? It's usually tells you strain A cross strain B, and now this is what you have. But what does it really do for you? And when should you consume it? Is it okay if you smoke it in the morning before working out, or should you wait till the end of the day? Right. So even though there's a lot of platforms, like you said, Leafly and Weed Maps, and most of the time it's very generic descriptions for the strains that you find. What we did is we need to change that. So we started working directly with the vendors. We started working with local labs. We started gathering as much information as we possibly could. So once we show any products for any of our stores, it's complete. It's no stock images. It's no generic descriptions. Our in-house team wrote all the descriptions. We go and we map all the terpenes, so you know what kind of terps are actually in it, and anything else that we can really get our hands on. The goal is just to once again help educate the new wave of consumers, but also the old school guys like myself. As I mentioned, like I didn't know that terpenes are so good for you. So good, I will say that it really helps you if you have inflammation, arthritis, depression, anxiety, whatever that might be. So we really trying to help consumers understand what are they putting in their body and if it's a better solution, right? So that is why this
So as a consumer, then if I go to to the website, right, then I'm also I can be directed to which stores are carrying.
No,
it's not.
No,
okay.
It's not. So we are a B2B company.
All B2B.
Even though the end customer is using our platform, we are the guys in the background. So all we do is just connecting the dots. So if you have a pod shop, you want to use our platform, we integrate with your POS system. And from that moment on, we pull all your inventory, and then our onboarding team goes ahead and do everything I just said.
Gotcha.
We take, if we don't have photos of the products, we send out a photographer. If you don't have the descriptions already in our database, write them. And then we go on to the terpenes and everything else.
Okay.
So yes, we are a B2B company.
Okay, great. That explains it. Peridot, tell me about the name.
The name, took us a long time to come up with that name. I wanted to come up with a name that could represent the cannabis industry, but also the technology industry that we're in, right? And I didn't want to have the typical names that really screams cannabis. We chose Peridot because Peridot is a very unique green gemstone, right? And it kind of made sense for us because we're in Washington, the Pacific Northwest, a lot of greenery out here.
Yeah.
The gem itself is round, and if you look at the logo, it's an abstract on actual peridot stone. So it was beautiful and classy and catchy enough, and it kind of, through the colors and the uniqueness, to me at least, and our team, it related to what we're doing. So that's why we chose Peridot.
Okay, great. I love it. And I actually didn't know that. And maybe I'm just an idiot, but yeah, I didn't know that. That's really interesting about the green emerald, the green emerald stone.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's very fitting. Yes. So what talk a little bit about share your vision. Like, where do you see you guys going in the next couple of years, and how do you plan on executing and kind of getting there?
Absolutely. The future is very bright for us. Being in the cannabis technology space is very exciting. It's new. It truly is. A lot of companies obviously are providing tech solution for cannabis, but they're not necessarily a cannabis tech company. They had a solution that adapted to our industry. When we got in here, we knew that whatever we do, it needs to be built for our people, right? And the typical functionalities that you have with e-commerce platforms like Shopify, Wix.com, Squarespace, are not necessarily what we need in the cannabis space. Don't get me wrong. It's easy to use. It's very simple to do it. Even though Shopify don't allow you to actually use them for cannabis sales in the United States, they still have a platform out there. When we decided to do this, we thought about how can we simplify the process of hosting your site on our platform for the stores. So we got really innovative here, right? We got creative, and we hired some of the top talents you can find in the Pacific Northwest, actually on the entire West Coast, and just to always trying to be one step ahead. Personally, I think that the cannabis tech sector, I guess, is the future of cannabis, because we have the opportunity of collecting data. We have an opportunity to really sit and look at the customer purchasing behaviors, the store's purchasing behaviors, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I think the future is automation, my friend.
Yeah.
Truly automation. Can
I tell you something? Back when I was involved with a cannabis company in Seattle here that I started several years ago. I did all the sales and marketing, right? And from coming from that, doing sales and marketing my whole life, I was just like kind of dumbfounded, like how much information stores didn't have on who their customers were. And, a lot of them have like, a customer loyalty program and this and that, but they didn't have any analytics on who is their customer, what are the personas of their customers, and especially if they have multiple locations, right? What is the personas of their customers in one geographical location versus another? How often are they buying? How much are they spending? What are the strains or products that they seem to like? And all that data, as we know, is so important to have. But and I don't know, maybe things you're into that space more than I am now, but maybe that's changed and gotten better. But I mean, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it has changed a lot, but we have a long way to go. I'm going to be very honest. We're not reinventing the wheel, right? Amazon has been doing this for well over a decade now. Amazon knows what you want to buy before you know what you want to buy. How often don't you do that yourself? As you're buying a certain item, suddenly your bag is full of a bunch of other things you didn't think you need, but you actually do.
Yeah.
Right. We're just a little behind. However, because of so many rules and regulations that we have in the cannabis space, and each state is so different from one another, we really have to get creative here. And personally, I think that people in the cannabis space are some of the most creative, intelligent people I've ever met. And I think that one day, 5, 10 years from now, the mainstream market will look at our industry, say, how did they do it? Because we have to fight for everything that we do. We have to figure out a way, right? Something as silly like with our platform, every time a new batch is coming out from the vendor, you always have a new SKU and ID number, right? It never stays the same. So it's really hard to track that information sometimes. Nowhere else do you do that. If you buy a pair of sneakers from Amazon, that pair of sneakers is exactly the same SKU number today and 5 years from now. Right. So with that, why I'm mentioning that is that it makes you to really start finding ways that you didn't think you needed. And because of that, you come up with a lot of good solutions. You get creative, you have to stay innovative as much as you can. And yeah, automation. I truly think automation and then voice is where we're going to with the cannabis space.
Yeah.
There will be a time that when the system knows that I might need more of this product, it will automatically let me know.
Yeah. No, you're so right. I've always said, like, the companies, that doesn't matter what side of the cannabis industry you're in, we're all everybody's faced with the same challenges, right? It's a fair game right now because it's equally hard for everybody, right?
It is.
And those that can figure out a way to prevail today, once cannabis becomes federally legal and it gets loosened up and it's not so compartmentalized like it is now, state by state, like you said. If you can be successful and figure it out now, it's only going to get easier. Knock on wood, down the road. But and that's great. So, Sean, tell us a little bit about what is your personal relationship with cannabis?
Well, So I'm 36 years old today, so I can actually tell you. But for the majority of my life, I've been smoking weed and hiding it. So I'm originally Persian. However, I grew up in Stockholm, Sweden. But that's two countries that cannabis is a big no-no, zero tolerance. I remember as a kid, I still have friends that I think I can not even make this up. Friends meaning people from school that are still doing time in Stockholm because of half a gram, 2, 3, 4 gram of possession of cannabis. So when I first got introduced to it, when I was 18 years old by my best friend, I'm like, it was a whole new world, right? Like, what is this? All these bright colors and life is just so good. I was so relaxed and I loved it. I fell in love with it from day one. So for the first maybe 10 years, and we used to just buy it from the dealers in Stockholm. And it was hard, I'm telling you, man. My mom hopefully is not watching this, but it's the truth, right? So that's how I kind of got introduced to the world of cannabis. It was just a party, or hanging out, socializing drug. And
Yeah.
the older I got, the more I started to understand what this really is. And it became a vital part of my life, right? I mentioned I have Crohn's disease. I have unfortunately some arthritis. I run a company, so I'm constantly stressed out. I have a kid at home. I have another kid on the way. But kid you not, man, cannabis is just making everything so much easier for me. From the
Yeah.
second I wake up, when I go to the gym, I know what type of strain I need to smoke, what edible to take, until the very end of the night when I just want to have a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got introduced to it when I was 18 and fell in love with it. But I think this past decade is when I really, really have have a relationship with it, like any other medicine. No, it's interesting. I was talking to my partner the other day because I was at the doctor's, and before stepping into the doctor's office, they asked me the list of medication I'm on, and I'm sitting there writing them one by one, and I'm thinking to myself, I cannot wait that I one day near future, instead of naming pharmaceutical medications, I just want to write down all the strains I'm taking.
Yeah, exactly.
Harlequin,
Yeah.
Lottie
Yeah.
Dottie, ATF, Jack Herrer, like this. I know it will happen. It will happen sooner than
Yeah.
later. But yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. That's awesome. So the future of cannabis and cannabis tech, what do you think?
You know, as mentioned earlier, I think the cannabis tech really going towards automation, because that's what technology is for. It's supposed to make your business, your day-to-day business, your operations, everything just easier. And I think as more and more establishments and businesses sign up for the right type of technology, their business will flourish. Truthfully, if you're a dispensary, you will automatically sell more.
Yeah.
If you're a producer processor, you'll have a better idea of what your store's shoppers consume, so you sell the right product to the right store. And all of this is through just the right type of algorithms and coding and all that good stuff. So I really think that that's where we're going towards. On the cannabis, the plant itself, we're all sitting here waiting for federal legalization. It will take a few more years, which is kind of okay, because for us in the startup phase, the
Yeah.
more time we get, the better, right?
Yeah.
We can really
Yeah.
build
I,
something
I
up.
I agree, man. I'm not ready for it to be legal
Yeah,
tomorrow.
no, same here.
Yeah.
I can totally wait, but I think that, and we already have started seeing this in the more mature markets like Washington and the West Coast in general.
Yeah.
A lot of small mom and pop shops will unfortunately not be
Yeah.
here. And every time I talk to them, I always say, please, please, please do something about it. Do it your way, right? And whether you're growing the weed or if you're selling the weed, I kind of foresee it being like the beer industry, when you have the Anheuser-Busch, which owns most of the market, and then you have all these craft beer
Yeah.
companies, right? And craft beer is bigger than ever. We have like 300 of them in Washington alone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I really think that the weed, that we're moving towards that in the next 5 to 10 years, that a lot of the people we see today are not here. But we have the small batch companies that are doing a fantastic job, and then we'll have all the bigger operators to come in and swoop up. It's in the nature of the game. That's how it works. We are
Yeah.
very, very fresh industries, only 9 years old, 8, 9 years old.
Yep. Yep. Totally agree. Well, that's great. So Sean, I always love to ask this question towards the end, but if you could have, dinner and a smoke with anybody, for
Mike
one night.
Tyson.
I'm not even, that's it. To be Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson. I love that guy.
So
Yeah,
get my next follow is yeah, tell me about that. Why? Out of
yeah.
all the people you
So
could have dinner and smoke with, it'd be him. Okay.
absolutely. I've been following his career since I've been a kid, and that's because I
Yeah.
used to box myself. Um, Being a professional boxer was the biggest dream of my life. I used to love everything about it. Obviously, that didn't happen. But being such a big fan of him, following his career and his life, obviously he's a very troubled human being. But having seen him this past 5 6 years, making the transition into the cannabis world, I mean,
Yeah.
look at him now. He's a successful businessman that is highly respected, and people really, look up to him in many ways. That it's a smart guy, and
Yeah.
I just want to smoke some weed with him and have a few shots, man.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Mike would be a great
That's
guy
awesome,
to
man.
hang out with.
That's great. Well, Sean, so share if anybody needs to get a hold of you,
Yes,
what's the best way to reach you? And then also, please share your website and all that. But what's the best way to connect with you?
absolutely. So my email is Sean SEAN at onperidot. That's ONPERIDOT.com. That's the best way. Website again onperidot.com. If you are in the Washington, Oklahoma market right now, and you're looking for a new e-commerce solution, a new website solution, for you guys to be there and help you guys. So yeah.
Excellent. And I know you have a great, and I follow you on social media and especially, LinkedIn as well. So I know you're all over that.
Yes.
So anyways, well, hey, Sean
Fantastic.
Mafi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
CEO and founder of Peridot. It was always great to catch up with you, man. I know the last time
Thanks
we
so
actually
much,
saw
man.
each other in face to face was a couple of years ago over coffee.
It
So
was, man.
yeah,
Time
so
flies, my friend.
I
Time
know.
flies.
I look forward to the next time, man. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks
Likewise.
again.
Thank you
Okay,
so much for having me. Take care.
you bet.
Bye.
Take care.